Hello everybody, in this video I'll be dealing with PTE speaking tips. With the help of these tips you can easily score more than 80 marks in PTE. If you take my example, I got 89 marks in PTE speaking, and believe me, my speaking is not so good. If you have seen my previous videos, you might have noticed I make grammatical errors and I make some pronunciation errors in PTE speaking, and I can't use very hi-fi or sophisticated vocabulary in speaking. This is because I'm not a native English speaker. So despite making these mistakes, I got 89 marks in PTE speaking because the criteria for assessing speaking in PTE is different. PTE doesn't expect you to talk like a newsreader or a university professor or a native English speaker. It just wants you to talk in a manner which is easily understandable by a native English speaker. Means there is no hindrance to communication. So technically, if your speaking is average and if you can't use hi-fi vocabulary in speaking, or if you can't use very hi-fi grammar in speaking, don't worry. Still you can easily get 89 marks or 90 marks in PTE just like me. So let's just begin. PTE speaking contains different sections which are read aloud, repeat sentence, describe image, retell lecture, and answer short questions. And there is one thing which is common in all these type of questions is, first is fluency and second one is pronunciation. So technically in all these sections you are going to get 5 marks for fluency and 5 marks for pronunciation in every item. For example, in read aloud there are 7 to 10 items, and all these 7 to 10 items are assessed based on fluency, pronunciation and content. So technically, if your oral fluency is good, if your pronunciation is good, content doesn't matter much. You can easily score more marks in PTE speaking. So technically, these two aspects are common in every section, and marks are awarded for fluency and pronunciation in every section. Okay, let's just start. First of all, pronunciation. You will get 5 marks if your pronunciation is native-like, but it doesn't mean the accent. Don't try to copy accent like British accent or US accent or Australian accent. Pronunciation is different than accent. So make sure you talk in your own accent, just like I have Indian accent and I got 89 marks just talking in Indian accent only. Next is 4 marks if your pronunciation is advanced, 3 marks for good pronunciation, 2 for intermediate, 1 for intrusive, and no marks if you are talking in lame pronunciation or you are non-English pronunciation. So technically make sure you read definition of all of these from PTE score guide because I haven't included them here. First of all, in order to get 5 marks, your pronunciation should be native-like. That means all vowels and consonants are produced in a manner that is easily understood by a regular speaker of the language. The speaker uses assimilation and deletions. Assimilation and deletion means you are just used to the language, or deletion means you are using like you are deleting some part of the word while talking. So just don't get confused in assimilation and deletion. Just make sure it is easily understood by a regular English speaker, and it should be continuous speech, and stress is placed correctly in all words. This is again important. Make sure you just put some of the stress on important words. Just like if I read this sentence, stress is placed correctly in all words and sentence level stress is fully appropriate. In this sentence, I'm just placing stress on some of the important words. And make sure you place this stress on correct words. Don't place it here like is, in. Like if I say stress is placed correctly in all words and sentence level stress is. So make sure you are placing this stress on correct words and on important words instead of on is, in, all, and words like these. So to get 5 marks in pronunciation, you need to improve it. First of all, pronunciation is not accent. Don't ever try to copy accent of a native English speaker. You may make the errors. For example, if I say cars, this is Indian accent, and if I say cars, my computer always assesses it as a C-A-R-S, cars. And if I try to say cars, my pronunciation is always correct, and my computer isn't able to assess whether I'm saying cars or whether I'm saying something else. So make sure you're not trying to copy the accent. Second is, yes, give stress on important words which you find is important. And this is very important. Use Google speech to text. Make sure that 80% of the words are picked by Google. You can use it online, or you can download it in your mobile or in your laptop, and you can try it. Just try to speak something or try to describe a graph in Google speech to text and make sure how many words it is picking. If it picks less than 80% words, means you need to improve your pronunciation. If it's picking more than 80% words, means your pronunciation is good. Why I'm saying 80%? Because it can't pick 100% words, but in PTE it does. PTE software is more sophisticated than Google software and then regular speech to text software. So make sure your 80% words are getting picked by Google. This is again important. Record your voice and listen to it, because you may find some of the mistakes and you can easily improve your pronunciation when you listen to your own voice. So this is very important. Record your voice and listen to it, because sometimes communication is clear while we are talking face to face, but it is not clear when we record our voice. So I'll be telling you the difference, why I'm saying that we should record our voice at the end of this video, when I'll be using Google speech to text, and I'll tell you how we make pronunciation errors and how speed influences pronunciation. Don't speak very difficult words in which you are not confident. Definitely, as you are seeing this video, whenever there is a difficult word, you might have noticed my fluency is not proper. I often get stuck in difficult words. For example, if I say very difficult words like extraordinary, immediately, so I'm not so confident in using these words. And in speaking, vocabulary is not so important. PTE doesn't want you to use high-fi vocabulary to get more marks. So make sure you use simple words in which you are confident to speak. This is again very important. In my first PTE attempt, I got 47 marks in speaking just because of the position of microphone. So I mailed Pearson and they told my breathing noises are interfering with the microphone. So technically, people, those who are mouth breather like me, and especially girls whose voice is so soft, make sure you talk little bit louder and the position of your microphone should be correct. The correct position is above your nose level. This is your nose and nostrils, and this is your mouth. Your breathing noises may interfere with the pronunciation score. So make sure your mic should be above the nose level. And sometimes it may interfere with the visual area or visual field. So make sure your mic is straight. You can keep it straight. Do not bend it in front of your mouth, or you can keep it above your nose level. This is the wrong position, in which you have bent it in front of your mouth or directly in front of your nose. You will get some time to check your microphone in the beginning. So make sure at that time, set your microphone on different positions and just listen to it, listen to your noise, and it should be very clear. With this position, you may notice that the voice is very clear as compared to this position. So this is very, very important section, and don't make this mistake just like I did. Next is fluency. Fluency isn't speed. So make sure you don't talk way too fast. And if you talk way too fast, you may improve in fluency. Your fluency marks will be more, but your pronunciation marks will be dropped, because when we try to speak fast, we eat some of the words, we don't speak some of the words correctly. So make sure your fluency should be average. 5 marks are given if your fluency is native like. Again, it's not accent, it's native like, means your fluency is smooth, you're talking in a smooth pace. 4 marks for advanced, 3 marks for good, 2 marks for intermediate, 1 for limited, and 0 for disfluent. And one thing more you might have noticed in fluency and pronunciation. If your fluency is 4 or 3, in 10 questions you can't improve it in next questions. Suppose in read aloud your fluency, in fluency you got 3 marks. You can't change your fluency frequently during the test. So technically you will lose 2 marks in every item of the exam. So this is why fluency and pronunciation is important. If your content is incorrect in one question, you may correct it in next question. But fluency and pronunciation, it is difficult to correct it. When you start talking, you will start at the same speed during the whole test. Don't try to change your speed because you can't do that. If you try to change the speed or way of talking, you will lose marks in fluency because you can't do that. Next is native-like. Speech shows smooth rhythm and phrasing. There are no hesitations, repetitions, false start or non-native phonological simplifications. So technically your fluency means you should be smooth, and make sure there are no hesitations, and don't repeat. Suppose you have made a grammatical error, don't try to correct it. Or for example, while describing the graph, suppose you have said 70%, the figure was 20%, and you said the imports were 70%. Don't just say the imports were 70%, no, they were 20%. This way you may lose marks in fluency. If you have said something wrong, let it be, no need to correct it. Don't give any false start. The grammar and the sentence should be proper. And next is how to improve fluency. Read everything aloud. Make sure when you read newspaper or you read any book or you are reading something from your mobile or you are using Facebook, just read everything aloud. Because in our mind we can read everything fluently, but while we talk loudly, we can't just improve our fluency. So make sure you read everything loud. Talk to yourself. This may sound silly, but make sure you are talking to yourself in English. Just make any conversation with yourself. Maybe in mirror, you can use mirror for confidence, and just try to talk to yourself related to any topic. Don't talk way too fast or way too slow. Make sure the voice and the speed should be normal. Don't talk way too fast or way too slow, and make sure don't alter your fluency in every item. If you have started at a particular speed, just maintain the same speed. It will be maintained automatically until you try to alter it. Don't just try to talk fast in some of the questions, and don't just try to talk way too slow in others. So make sure you are making the same speed, or you are maintaining the same type of talking or same speed or same fluency. No repetitions, as I have told you earlier. Don't try to repeat anything. There should be no hesitations, and don't worry about the content too much. Most of the time we lose our fluency when we just worry about the content. Suppose there is a graph and suppose we didn't understand. Just make sure you are talking. Don't worry about the content way too much. Suppose you have said this particular figure was 70%, and don't just say the particular figure was 70%, it was 72%, then it dropped to 30%, 32%. Just don't try to be accurate in the content. This way you may lose your marks in fluency. Make sure you talk smoothly. And again, don't try to use very sophisticated, difficult words, because they don't matter. You will not get any mark if you use very hi-fi vocabulary. And if you are an average speaker just like me, I'm not confident with the sophisticated language. I can't use very hi-fi words, and my speaking is not way too good. So technically I'm not confident with them, and I don't use them because there is no extra marks for your vocabulary or for your hi-fi words. So just keep it simple. Next is, this is again important, use fillers instead of pauses. Don't take pauses, use fillers. So what are fillers? Learn 2 fillers. The fillers you should learn beforehand. Don't just think I'll add some of the fillers at the same time while taking test, because at that time you are trying to understand the content. You can't immediately create fillers. So make sure you learn 2 fillers which you are supposed to use whenever you want to take pauses or you are not understanding the content. At that time you can use them quickly. So just like this, in addition to that, suppose you are saying the graph compares among imports and exports those took place in USA from 2009 to 2016. The next, you need 3 or 4 seconds to think. So you can say, in addition to that, so, or you have mentioned something like the imports were maximum in 2009. In addition to that, instead of just taking a pause, make sure you fill it with the filler. Next is, moreover, we can say that this filler you can also use. I won't encourage you to use fillers, but instead of pauses, using fillers are better. So make sure you can use this filler. And next is, the graph gives a clear idea regarding. So suppose you are again describing the graph. This graph compares among imports and exports those took place in USA and Canada from 2009 to 2016. And next, you didn't understand regarding the content, so you can say the graph gives a clear idea regarding imports and exports. So this way you will get 3 to 4 seconds in order to think something. And make sure you always use fillers, because you have taken pause for 3 seconds, your microphone will stop working, it won't record your voice. So technically you are not allowed to take 3-second long pause. So in order to avoid that pause, you may use these fillers. If we look closer, we can see that. And next is, just try to practice using these fillers again and again, because at that time while you are busy looking at the content, you can't think of any new filler, and you can use 2 fillers together. For example, you can say, if we look closer, we can see that the graph gives a clear idea regarding. This way you will get 5 to 6 seconds to think about the content, and you won't lose marks in fluency. And next is, I'm saying practice. You are supposed to practice 30 to 40 graphs in 2 or 3 days. Make sure you practice 10 graphs daily. With this practice, you will improve your fluency. Next is, make a format. Make a format means for different type of questions, make a format in your speaking. For example, while talking related to line graph, you can make a format that I will start with. This line graph shows the difference between this and this in year 2009 to 2016. And next line I will start the maximum and minimum. The imports were maximum in this, then it dropped significantly and reached to this, and the exports were maximum in this year, and then it improved and reached to maximum in this year. So technically this is sort of a format. You can make it for line graph, like for example, you can make format of pie diagram. With pie chart, you can say that I will start with the maximum first, then I'll talk related to the minimum, and then the middle figures. This type of formats you can make, and in my next videos I'll be mentioning them, and I'll be dealing with each and every subsection of speaking, and in that I'll tell you how to make a format for every section. Okay, next I'll be dealing with read aloud, how to get good marks in this, repeat sentence, describe image, and retell lecture, which is very important because listening marks are also awarded from this, and answer short question. And I have some of the tricks. For example, in retell lecture, suppose you have listened only one word. You couldn't listen the whole paragraph, and the only one word you have listened, and in this case, what you can do? I'll be telling you some of the emergency strategies in retell lecture. Suppose you have listened only 2 words in the paragraph, and suppose you haven't listened to one single word in retell lecture, or you didn't understand what the speaker said. So technically in these cases, what you can do to achieve good marks in this section, I'll be telling you some of the strategies, because in my second test in retail lecture, all I heard was one single line, that there was a book which was written at the time of Napoleon and it was related to people's desperate conditions. So how I modified that, how I paraphrased that, and how I got good marks in listening section as well as speaking section. So technically I have strategies and some of the tips and emergency conditions and emergency circumstances related to these sections. So I'll be dealing with this in my next videos. Well, thanks for watching.